Thanks for coming out today. Excited to kick off the Dynamo 20th MLS season here. Got now President of Soccer, Pat Onstad. Leo also does have a mic that he'll hand around if it's feasible to for your questions. We'll start with questions in the room, then we'll go to Zoom. But just kick it off, Pat. Just your excitement for this 20th MLS season. Full circle moment here, but heading into your big campaign here in 2025.
Yeah, firstly, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. And this is always a fun day for the guys, and staff is a little bit more laid back as well. There's no pressure, no game coming up, and the players are excited to get back. We were talking a little bit about it. The veteran guys come out here and they're like, just easy, take it easy. And these young kids that get their first chance, they're chomping at the bit, slide tackles and all this stuff. And the guys are like, whoa, relax, man, 300 days to go. Like we've got a peak there, not now. So it's a fun day, and it's an exciting season for us. And, as Jack had mentioned, it is full circle for me. I was fortunate enough to be part of a really good team that came from San Jose when we moved here in 2006. We had an excellent coach in Dominic Kinnear. We had some great leaders in our team, and Brian Chang, Brad Davis, Wade Barrett, Craig Weibel, another GM. So a lot of people here. Brian Mullins. I'm trying to go through Dwayne DeRosero was another decent player. So we had a lot of really good team, and something that hopefully this year we'll kind of reflect back on and celebrate that group. But the reality is that we're still moving forward, and this league has grown a lot in the last 20 years. And we're excited that we feel like we're finally turning the corner on our soccer project. And we feel like the advances we've made over the last couple of seasons, 3 seasons, that we're now a team that we expect to be a playoff team. We don't even really talk about that. I mentioned it to the guys, but that's who we are. And we'll behave that way. We'll hopefully play that way. And for us, it's to try to compete for trophies. So whether it's the Open Cup, Leagues Cup, but in the end, the ultimate one is to try to lift an MLS Cup trophy. That's our goal. And you have to make the playoffs if you're going to do that. So we're happy with our sporting project. We're really happy where we're at. We think from our standpoint, when I talk about I talk more on the technical executive side, Asher Mendelson, myself. We still have a few more players to add to this group that will hopefully help us go forward. But we're really happy with the core group of guys that we were able to come back. And some of these guys, we've been able to sit down and talk with them to try to make sure that we can extend them and keep them here at our club for a while.
All right, we'll start with Luis over here.
Hi, but Luis from Univision 45. Happy soccer year.
Yeah, thank you.
But Coco wasn't out there, so can we say that it's a done deal? Coco went to Pumas. Where is it?
Coco's a big player and a big piece of our group. There's certainly those rumors aren't just rumors. There's a lot of truth to those. We're still, I think, working through the final details with him. We've been pretty open and honest. I think it's been a really good relationship with Coco and his agent about what he wanted to do and where he wanted to go, and he wants to try to keep pushing himself, and he thinks this is a good opportunity for him to move forward. And for our club, at the same token, we also want to be a club that has players here, and we develop them on and give them their opportunity to go to a different platform. So hopefully we can get this over the line, but we still have a little bit of work to do.
So you think it's something that's going to happen during the week, maybe?
Time-wise, I don't want to put a time limit on it because you never know. Sometimes it's one little clause that takes 10 days, and then other times you got 30 different issues and you get them solved in an hour. So it's tough to put a time frame on it, but I think for Coco, to your point, him not being here is a pretty good indication that we're pretty far advanced, and both clubs want the same outcome, and so does the player. So we'll see how this goes.
All right, we'll go to Chris there.
Good morning, sir. Congratulations once more being the president of soccer for UC Dynamo.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to ask what your visions for the club is, both on and off the field, and how do you plan to strengthen the connection between the team and Houston community?
Yeah, the vision for the club is to be a community team. I think that's always been our strength, certainly as a sport that still is, competing with the top sports in our city, that we need to be connected to the community. We need to have something that differentiates us from, the NFL, from the NBA, from Major League Baseball. And I think our access as a team, as players, as executives, does separate us. And I think we're always available for you guys. Please, if we're not, reach out to Jack. We're here for you. So I think that piece is a big piece of work on. From the sporting side, we've been pretty clear. We want to compete for trophies. We want this team to lift trophies. You know, we were fortunate in 23, made a nice run in the Open Cup, lifted a trophy, qualified for the playoffs for the first time in a while. We got back-to-back this last year, but Ben Olsen, our head coach, summed it up perfectly in the locker room at the end of the game. He said, it was a good year last year, with most points in club history, most road wins, but the reality was it wasn't a great year. A great year is when you lift a trophy. I thought we put it perfectly, and that's what we're looking forward to this year. We want to make sure it's a great year.
One more question. The team is pretty a very interesting team, very young, very talented team. But we know the exit of Hector, there's a little bit of vacuum on the team. It's all
Yeah.
a wealth of experience. So are we looking forward to signing a big name that can fill in those shoes?
Yeah, I think we're more interested in making sure we get a good player. And to your point with Hector, Hector's not only is he an experienced guy and a guy who's won at pretty much everywhere he's been, he was an excellent soccer player. Unfortunately for him last year, he ran into some injuries and he was really only available for about 50% of our minutes. That was essentially the main decision of why we decided to part ways and go in a different direction. But to replace him right now, we haven't gone out and signed anyone to replace him. We think we have some really good players that are going to get opportunities to step up, but at the same token, we're not sure if we have anyone that's quite ready to step in for him. So I would imagine that we'll try to go down that route and see if we can find somebody that's suitable to replace him.
Thank you.
Go to Danny back there.
Alex, you're getting blocked here.
Dan, oh, Dan, do you have a question or no? All right, we'll go to Jorge.
Oh, he's still getting blocked.
Sorry, right
Yeah.
there.
Good morning, Pat.
Morning.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year too, Jorge.
And first day of preseason, right? Big steps this year. A lot of players missing in the squad, but a question I've got for you is which route will the team go? Will it be a 2DP, 3DP, undecided?
Yeah, no, that one I can state clearly. We'll be a 2DP team, because part of that is we have 2 million in GAM that then we can therefore use. And we'll have 4 YPS. Well, we can use a fourth YPS. Right now we have 2 DPs in Sebastian Ferreira and Ezekiel Ponce. Wow, that was terrible. Ezekiel Ponce and Sebastian Ferreira. And then we have three U22 players, Nelson Quiones, Ibrahim Aliou, and Lawrence Anali. 2 of them, unfortunately, are coming back from injury. So we have one more space there, and then the 2 million. We've already allocated some of that. I don't know how many people look closely at the MLS. They released the eligible GAM that we had. We have the least GAM in the league, and part of that is we've inherited a club 3 years ago that had spent a lot of GAM, but kind of pulling it forward. And for us to stay competitive, we've done the same. Asher Mendelson and I made those decisions. So we're at a stage now that, which comes back to the original question with Coco, we need to start selling players to generate a bit more GAM to help us be able to manage our salary cap. But to answer your original question, we'll be doing 2 DPs, 4 YPSs, and 2 million in GAM. So we call it 242 is kind of the numbers you'll hear. But that's where we're going to go. Now, whether that remains that, who our 2 DPs are, that remains to be seen.
And it's still very early on, right? First day of preseason, like I said.
Yeah.
But what must be done to surpass last year's squad?
Win a trophy would be really nice. But the bigger one is, I think for us, we had 54 points. We finished 5th. The year before we had 51 and we finished 4th. That extra home game in the first round really made a difference for us when we played Salt Lake in 23. The leg last year, listen, in the end, we blew it out. We were self-imploded. We took 2 red cards and 2 key games. You can't beat Seattle with 10 men. Tough enough to try to beat them with 11. So I think for us, I wouldn't say it's a discipline issue. I think it's strange we have all these red cards and it seems to be always against Seattle, and those are never nasty games, but I digress. What I would say in terms of where we want to go, we want to try to improve on what we did last year. If we can get a better seeded position in playoffs, it'd be great. But the bigger one is to make sure we make some good runs in these tournaments and hopefully get close to a final. And if we get to a final, I think this group knows how to win.
Dustin?
Hey, Pat.
Hey.
Coming into the offseason, I'm sure you guys have a plan, everything. With the Coco news, did that change the way you guys viewed this offseason? Was that always a possibility? Just how does that kind of pivot things?
Yeah, I mean, we've been pretty clear that there was a chance it could happen, but you're right, you never know it's gonna happen until, we've heard that about Coco since I came into the building 3 years ago. Oh, Coco, this window, and we really haven't had an offer that's materialized, so, and to be fair to Pumas is a club that's been kicking the tires for a while and trying to figure out the right time, when to strike, so, we didn't know this was gonna happen, so we'll have to react, but it's not something that caught us completely off guard, and where this is now coming out in the public, there's been behind the scenes, we've kind of known for a few weeks that this is pretty good possibility. So we've had time to react, we'll have time to react, and, you know, our season doesn't kick off for another 5.5 weeks, so hopefully we'll get a replacement in the building before then.
Alex, yep.
Pat, good
There we
morning
go.
again.
Hi.
How are you, sir?
Good, thanks. You?
Happy New Year. Maybe it's not a coincidence, but you mentioned the 2 red cards in the playoffs. The scenario is that those players may not be with the club.
I don't know if that's why, yeah, but,
Maybe it's completely, again,
Yeah.
it's got nothing to do, but in that scenario, no Carrasquilla, no Herrera.
yeah.
What, from a marketing perspective, is the name you're looking or targeting? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Those are big names.
Yeah, they are big names. I still will always try to make this team, you know, our goal, when I say our goal, Asher Mendelson and I, our goal is to make sure this team is competitive as it can possibly be. And I'll say it again and again, we're trying to win trophies here, so if that's a big name, the left-footed Argentinian guy's already taken in Miami, but if it's big names, certainly we think they'll help the team, that's something we'll consider, but at the end of the day, we're trying to bring in players that will help the team. So I don't think, we don't go out and say, hey, we want a big name. I think Hector, in reality, kind of landed in our lap. He kicked the tires with Austin, and then the agent we talked to, and the timing worked out perfect there. So that's not often that happens, but it certainly wasn't a guy that we, you know, put a circle on and said, Hector Herrera is our guy. Once he was available, then we kind of circled him pretty quickly.
You mentioned Messi, finally Messi in Houston.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that matchup?
That is, I think our schedule, the first 3 games are really exciting. You know, that awful red team down the road, we get to play them first and at home in our house. And then we get to play the world's best player, in my opinion, ever. So, and I've actually been able to see a few of them play live too, so which is kind of nice. But it'll be really exciting, I think, for our group, for our team, but also for our city and hopefully for our fans. And then our first road game is we go up and play the League's Cup champion, and 2 years ago, the MLS Cup champion in Columbus, which I have a history, Asher has a history with them. Worked there for 8 years, so that'll be fun to see some familiar faces, and hopefully we can stuff it to them at lower.com.
Thank you.
Hey, Pat, my question's a little bit different, not the same as Alex's, but in terms of the nucleus that you have right now existing, what kinds of players, positions are you actually looking to bring in to turn this into a championship team?
Yeah, I think by losing Hector, he's more of a central midfield, like playmaking central midfielder that could connect our game. We were the best possession team in the league last year. There's a thing called field tilt, which basically means where is the ball on average over 90 minutes, and we had to think the second highest field tilt. In other words, we keep it closer to their goal. So we're a possession-based team, just sort of kind of digressing as I always do. You know me well enough now. You know what that's like. Anyways, and as a central midfielder, we need to get a guy that can progress the ball. If we get a guy in there that just works and tackles and wins the ball, I think we're doing a disservice to the way we want to play. We want to continue to play the way we do. So we need to find a guy that can progress it, that can replace Hector Herrera. That's a tough one at that level, to be able to find that type of guy. And then now if Coco moves on, he's more of a 10, although Coco would probably argue he'd be better suited being in the middle as an 8. So we have, I think, an opportunity here can we find a playmaker that might be better with a final pass, or someone who gets in the box and scores goals to replace Coco. So I think you'll see, it'll be tough to find a guy that's Hector Herrera quality, but I think we could find something, maybe a guy that's a little bit more mobile, defensively could be a little more responsible, but ultimately he has to be able to advance the ball to us. And then now can we find that 10 in that pocket that could be that special player that can play a final pass, score some goals for us. So those are the 2 main ones we'll have to try to get across the line. But great question.
Morning, Pat.
Morning.
It was announced this morning, Kenny Bundy is officially part
Yes.
of the coaching staff of the first team. 2 questions, or 2
Yeah.
parts, a little bit about that, and then secondly, what are you guys thinking, if you can share anything about the second team?
Yeah, well, he did announce the second team had, we didn't, no, sorry, I can't say that. Sorry. I don't know if I can, not right here, but maybe somewhere else, online. Yeah, look how it's, so, but to go back to Kenny Bundy, we'll have to hire someone to replace him. He might or might not be in the building. But what I would say is, in fact, he might have been on the field, actually. But there's, what I would say with Kenny and what we're really proud of is as much as we want to be, and we were, Alex, you and I were talking a little bit about this outside, is we want to be a club that can produce players that go into the first team. So it starts with the academy. If we can start getting these guys through, and I think I talked about this last year when we did this, is once we start doing that, I think that'll have our academy humming. I think it'll also get the community behind us, and we'll have fans that go, I remember watching that kid when he was 9 years old. He played against my kid or whatever. I think that's a big step for this club moving forward. Having said that, on the staffing side, we also want to be a club that says, hey, listen, if you put your work in here and you can develop, and this is the pinnacle of where you want to go, we want you to be able to do that at this club. And so when it comes to Kenny Bundy, he's a great example. The guy's been here, I think it's 9 years now, something along that line. He's worked in the academy. He worked in with our UPSL team, a U20 group. He worked as head coach of our second team, and now he's been an interim head coach for our group, and now he's got an opportunity to go on Ben Olsen's staff. And we know the qualities he has. I think he understands our culture at the club. So a guy like Kenny Bundy is a great example of a person that we can develop and go on. Now, does he become the head coach of our team? Who knows? If not here, hopefully somewhere else, and we're able to go. We were lucky enough to be able to develop him, and I think that's the type of club we want to be. And when we go all the way back to the community, that's what we want to be. We want to be seen as this is a club that tries to develop people to the highest level that we can get them to. So we're pretty proud of that.
David over here.
You touch on it right now, and it's already being seen. Mikael, Brooklyn Reigns that has stepped in, and this year you're going to have Exo Natsu already in the roster, and Sebastian Rodriguez. So with those players, how do you think, or how much has it been, and how much more can it be?
Yeah, Femi Odowusu is another one too that's been signed to the first team as a center back. So I think some of those guys, Brooklyn Reigns, I think started off, had a really good start to the season. Unfortunately, made some big mistakes and big moments, but was playing at a really high level. And then he kind of got those mistakes out of his system. And towards the end of the year when he played, we expect a lot out of Brooklyn this year. We think he's a guy that can put in a lot more minutes on our first team. So we're developing these kids slowly, but we still have a ways to go to those ones. In terms of Exxon, he's an interesting player. You come to the second team games enough, you've seen him. He has a flash, but he's got to work on the defensive side of the game. He's got a way to go. But we're trying to produce players that can play for the first team. We're really proud last year. We had the youngest roster in MLS Next Pro, played the most minutes of any from our academy of any team in the entire league in 29 teams. We're proud of that. I think we're giving these opportunities, and hopefully that will start translating into guys, whether it's Sebastian Rodriguez, Brooklyn Reigns, that these guys become regulars in our first team.
Any other questions in the room? We'll go over here for Alex.
Pat, I've got one more. So
Sure.
again, congratulations on your signing, your extension now, 5 years. Are you happy here? Is
It's
this
a 17-year deal. It's a 17-year deal.
That's not true.
Did I read that wrong? No?
Look, it sounds like you're at home. We were talking about 20 years. You've been part of the original roster of this club, moving from
San Jose.
San Jose.
San
I'm
Jose.
sorry, what
The
black
Earthquakes.
place. But are you happy? And is this meeting your professional development? Are you getting the support? Are you on track with your plan to make this a championship team?
Yeah, I'm happy with where we're at from a personal standpoint. When we first came here with my wife Becky and I, we came here with 2 kids, Peyton and Owen, and we came to the city. Had our daughter Abigail here. We love the city. We grew attached to it, and unfortunately we had to go away and develop this side of the career for me. And I'm very happy to be back. I have a wonderful owner in Ted Siegel. I have a great relationship with him, although maybe you need to ask him that too, just to confirm. But we have a really good relationship, and he cares a lot about the club and the city. And I think he's happy that I'm in the same boat, that I care a lot about the club and the city. So from a personal standpoint, the extension was awesome, and the faith that I've gotten from the ownership group is great. And then from a club standpoint, where we're at, I still want us to ultimately be able to try to win another MLS Cup for the city. It's difficult. There's 29 teams that are saying that their GM are sitting here and saying the exact same thing. So we've got a ways to go, but I like our core of our group. We've two good years back to back. Now we got to make it 3, and then keep going. And I think Ben does a wonderful job of getting these guys ready for the playoffs. You know, last year we shot ourselves in the foot, but we actually played pretty well over those 2 games. So I'm excited about where our group is.
Thank you, sir.
We'll go to Nate, and then we'll jump to Zoom after Nate's question.
Pat, you just said that you love the city.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's soccer fans in the city of Houston love you guys. You want to send out a little message to the fans who maybe like wavering?
Yeah, well, we've got a team
What
that's.
is your problem?
Yeah, what is your problem? Get out there. I mean, we have a great stadium. We have I'm biased, but I think the way we play soccer is really fun to watch. We're not a team that sits back and tries to scrape out 1-0. We try to beat teams, 3-0 if we can, but sometimes 3-2, 4-3. We're an exciting team. We keep the ball. Some of our players, you know, they give me heart attacks. They dummy balls at the top of the box. Although we did lose Hector for that, so that maybe might be good for my heart. But we have a really fun group, and I think we put on a good show. And I think you know, our front office is working really hard to make that entertaining outside of just the team, but also to have the experience when you come to Shell Energy Stadium that it's top notch. But we're a fun group of guys. These guys. For better or worse, I've never seen a group that really cares about each other more than these guys in the locker room. And they're very easy to get behind and start to cheer for.
All right, we'll go to Zoom for a few questions. Start with Herman. Herman, go ahead.
Hey, Pat.
Okay, Herman.
This is Herman Benitez with Deportes USA. I have a couple questions about the team. First, you were speaking on you want to develop a culture where teams from Dynamo jump to the first team. Let's talk about a specific scenario in Javier Valdez, you know, a goalkeeper who started for his national team, had time in Dynados, but ultimately you and Asher didn't feel confident in promoting him as the backup goalkeeper and went out and signed a veteran in Jimmy Maurer. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I can, certainly. That was a decision, yes, that was made. And I would say player decisions generally are made by Ben Olsen, Asher Mendelson, myself. We make those decisions. I think over the 3 years with Xavier in the building, we felt he hadn't made the progress we'd hoped for. But I also think for Xavier's development, to be honest, is he needs a new environment. He needed to get out of Houston. He needed to, a polite way is probably grow up a little bit and understand that this is a profession and a day-to-day. But he's got a lot of tools. He's got a lot of things. It was a difficult decision. It wasn't easy. It wasn't something that we thought we were not sure if we're making the right choice. But at the end of the day, we felt that for his development and for our club, we needed to move on. And then to say Jimmy Maurer replaced him, I don't think that's the case. I would say Jimmy Maurer replaced Andrew Tarbell for the backup. Xavier was always going to be the third, so now we have to go try to find a third goalkeeper.
But Tarbell is the Houston Dynamo starting.
Correct. So he's moved up the ladder, and then we had to replace him, so to speak, as the backup. Whereas we moved on from Steve Clark.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay,
Yes, sir.
great.
And you touched on a couple of these players too. I just wanted to ask for an update on their recovery. Nelson Quiñones should be the first one. We should see some positive news. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. Without getting into too much detail with his rehab and injury, I mean, what I can tell you is his injury was much more severe than Lawrence Anali's. Lawrence Anali's was a pretty simple ACL surgery, ACL injury. Nelson's was a little more, I'd be a little graphic with it. He dislocated his knee essentially. Had an ACL, had a few more issues, cartilage issues, some nerve issues. So his was a pretty traumatic experience for someone with their knee. We're happy with his progress. We're a little disappointed how slow it's been going, but it's a tough one. Whereas I think the ACLs are anywhere from 8 to 12 months. 9 months probably being really quick. And Nelson's injury we knew out of the gate was probably going to be at least 11 to 12, and he's probably going to be pushing more like 12 to 14.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And my last one is, we spent a good chunk of this press conference talking about the departures in the midfield. There's reports that the Houston Dynamo are finalizing a deal to sign midfielder Eddie Dueñas from LAFC.
Uh-huh.
Can you confirm those reports? And what's the scouting on Eddie Dueñas?
I'd say those are pretty good reports. So he's a guy we feel the way we attack and get a little technical, and I hate doing that because I'm not a coach, but Ben educates me, so I'll put it that way. We attack in a 3-box-3. That's how we go, and we think Eric can play all 4 positions in that box, whether it's an attacking midfield like Coco, whether it's Amin Bassi, whether it's the old Hector Herrera position or an Artur. We think he can play all 4 positions, so he's very versatile. He's still a very young player. He's 20 years old. He debuted at 15 years old, so he's an interesting piece if we can figure out a way to get it over the line.
Thank you, Pat. Best of luck this year.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it, Herman.
All right, a few more on Zoom. Samara, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can. Thanks, Samara.
Good morning, Pat. Thank you. Samara here with TUDN Radio. My question for you is on that same scouting note, are you guys focusing more on MLS or will the new additions be also from Mexico, Latin America? Where is that focus on?
Yeah, the focus is abroad, and it depends on the country. I think we're pretty open. I think you've seen we've recruited, from Croatia, from Brazil, Argentina. I think we're pretty open. We have a tough time, as I mentioned earlier in the press conference. We don't have a lot of GAM to be able to trade within league, so it becomes pretty difficult for us. What we can compete in is the free agent market in our league and go after free agents. But those are mostly be cover pieces. So to make replacements for us, we tend to be looking abroad at this point.
Thank you. Congrats on your new title.
Oh, thank you.
Joey, go ahead.
Hey, Pat. Now with the departure of Coco Carrasquilla potentially leaving, is there any talks into getting Latif Blessing back and played in some of his positions last year?
Well, you're in our meeting rooms, huh? I get it. That's all right. I'm glad you've got it tapped. At least I know who it is. That's a possibility. I think we'll see how this plays out. With certainly we've been in contact with Latif's agent. Latif does have a few other opportunities, but mostly abroad at this point in time. I thought he did well for us in a couple of key moments when he was kind of stepped up for us, and Atlanta game was one that sticks out in my memory. But and he's got experience with our league. Again, he's a free agent at this stage, and that is, as we spoke about just earlier, is that's probably the type of player that could come in. But we would see him more as a depth piece at this stage. Maybe he could start some games, but not necessarily a full replacement.
And Mikael's a player you talked about in the past getting some interest. Is there any preparation or expectations of any bids coming in this winter or the summer? Do you guys have an idea of how you're going to replace him?
At this point, I hopefully no more. We said we have to react to one, so we'll see. I think we've had a lot of clubs call and inquire about what the price is. We worked again with the same sort of situation we had with Coco. We've worked with the agents to make sure that the valuations are understood from both parties, and we've had a few clubs ask about where we're at. But at this stage, we're moving forward with Mikel this season. I think he's a massive piece for our success. So that would be a really tough one, certainly in this window. In the summer, though, who knows? We'll have to see.
Thanks so much, Pat.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any more Leo on there?
Yes, ex-pool.
X-Pool?
Good morning, Pat. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
So, being a supporter myself first, the biggest question around the supporter groups is how is the administration working towards inviting more fans or engaging more fans to eventually fill up the stadium? We see the game against Messi is huge, and we do expect the stadium to sell out. But beyond that, how are we as a club engaging the community to try to involve them more and eventually fill up the show?
That's a great question. I don't know if although I got this new title of president, it's president of soccer. I just want to be clear on that one. I think, for us, our job from a soccer standpoint is to make sure we put a competitive team on the field that wins games. I know one thing we were actually a little bit disappointed about. While we had a great road record last year, we'd like to make sure that we get back to 23 and have a really good home record, so fans know when they come there that they're going to see 3 points and see their home team win. So that's what we can kind of control. I do think from one standpoint and one thing, we're very fortunate. Our players are very comfortable going out in the community, doing appearances, being in front of the camera. They enjoy the interactions. That's part of their job as well here, I think, is still selling the sport. So that's something I think we've talked to the front office about, and the front office is in agreement that we're going to work hard on that to try to get us out. And as I touched on right at the beginning of this, we are a community club, and we want to be known as that. And I think getting the guys out there and in the community is really important. And hopefully that can help put fans and people in the seats and fans in our stadium. I mean, there's nothing like last year when we played LA at the end of the year when we get I can't even remember, was it a sellout or right? It was a sellout our last game of the year, and Daniel Stairs scores a winner and makes it for a 3-2 game. I mean, that's what people come for, and we had a couple of moments like that last year at home that I think were really fun for everybody, and hopefully they keep coming out.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll wrap it up there. We'll have Ben Olsen up next, and then our tour. One more note: it is Pat's birthday today, so everyone wishing him happy birthday.
Yeah. 39 again. 39. No, come on. This is embarrassing. It's fully embarrassing.
Happy birthday, dear Pat. Happy birthday to
Thank you. Thank you. I did not want that.